Our dear Heavenly Father, we are thankful to be gathered here together today in Santa Clara. We're thankful for this city and our community. We're thankful for the blessings that we have from living and working here. Please bless us as we work together to make good decisions for our city today, that we will be guided and directed and inspired as to what the best things are for our community and our neighbors and residents of this area. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Also, is anyone on Zoom with us?
Mayor.
Okay, so Mayor, you are here. Do you want to say anything, Mayor?
Can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Yeah.
Welcome, y'all.
Okay, awesome. Feel free to cut in whenever you need to, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Jared.
We're glad to have you here with us. All right, let's move on to conflicts and disclosures. Is there anything on the agenda, Council, that you need to disclose? Any conflicts?
No.
Okay, very good. We'll move on to our working agenda. Item number 4A is public hearing. We don't have any planned. We have our consent agenda, which is the approval of claims and minutes for December 13th, 2023 regular City Council meeting minutes, the December 20th, 2023 City Council work meeting minutes, and claims through January 10th, 2024. Also, our calendar of events upcoming is January 17th, 2024 is the City Council work meeting. We have a regular meeting on the 24th and a regular meeting on February 8th.
And maybe if I could add to that, January 25th is the combined meeting with Ivins City to discuss fire and EMS and police, and that will be held at their city hall. So they host that meeting, so just put that in. That'll be at 5:30 on the Thursday, the 25th.
Okay. Get it in my calendar real quick. So the 25th at 5:30.
Yes,
That is a combined,
correct. And a little tweak to also to the calendar of events. The February 8th will be the budget meeting on February 8th. And that's instead of not a regular city council meeting, that'll be the budget meeting. Our first regular meeting won't be till the 14th of February.
Okay.
so Brock, you said 5:30.
5:30 on the 25th, yes.
All right, January. Is that January or February?
January.
All right.
And what was it called?
It's a combined council meeting with Ivins to discuss our partnerships with police and fire EMS.
Okay.
It's
Thank
a
you.
biannual meeting we have. We have one there, one here every 6 months, so.
Okay.
Yeah, very helpful to just make sure we're on the same page since we share those departments. Okay, and that February 8th, do we have a time on that?
Noon. We'll kick off. I tentatively will say noon, maybe pop it a little, we may come a little bit earlier, but I tentatively say with noon on the 8th for the budget meeting.
Okay. I do have mosquito abatement that afternoon,
Oh,
but
what's fun?
You better get your wish list in quick.
all right, very good.
We could, I mean, I think was shared was Thursday was better, people I talked to than the Wednesday, but, so.
Okay. All right, very good. Well, with that, I would entertain a motion, unless there's any discussion on anything in the consent agenda.
I will make that motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ben to approve the consent agenda as presented, and a second by Krista. Any questions on the motion? This is a money item, so we'll do a roll call. We'll start with Dave.
Aye.
I'm an aye. Krista?
Aye.
Janine?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Thank you, council. All right, we'll move on to 4B, general business. Our first item is a discussion and action to consider amending Title 12, Chapter 12.24.110, vaults to allow approved burial vaults that are made of different materials, and approve ordinance 2024-01 presented by Ryan Von Cannon, our Parks and Trails Director.
Good evening. This item I presented at our last work meeting and bring it back for approval. I realize some of you weren't here, so we'll go through it again to bring everybody up to speed. I was approached about a month ago by Robert Kenworthy, owner of Kenworthy Monuments. He's going to start providing a polyethylene burial vault The reason he's doing that is one, for cost. It could save family members hundreds of dollars in funeral expenses. Other is mobility. So these polyethylene vaults in tight areas, like I said, are historical sections, perfect example where you have tight areas and it might be hard to get equipment in there, vault truck, etc. These, they brought a couple here for us to look at. 2 people can pick them up, carry them wherever they need to go. They have lowering devices that the people can carry over, so you're making as little impact as possible. All our neighboring cities have ordinance like ours. Our current ordinance only allows for concrete burial vaults for traditional burials. The reason for that, only thing we can come up with, I've talked to a couple of the other representatives from other cities, is that's all that's really been available that would withhold for, well, we've been doing burial vaults in our area. These polyethylene vaults have been used for decades across the country. Arlington Cemetery, this is all they use. They're, depending on which manufacturer you look at, they're all about the same as far as 5 times stronger, 10 times lighter than concrete once they're put together. They also have a rubber gasket, which makes a water and airtight seal, which the concrete vaults don't, which is a plus. I recently reached out to the sexton of the Tonopah Cemetery in St. George and talked to him about it. They're going to allow them because they have some areas like ours that are sensitive. And Washington is also going, they're taking it to council to get theirs changed also. So if you scroll down, Ross, there's some pictures that some of you haven't seen. It might be up. There you go. So here's the burial vault. Keep going down, you can see the lid and also the bottom. That's the lid there, the honeycomb design. They also have, keep going down, there's one you can see up on the truck a little further. That one right there is more of a heavy duty one, which I would suggest that's the one we request if they're gonna do them. Main reason being, and the sexton Tonopah agrees with me, is the other one has a lip along the side that if you're digging a grave next to one that's already there, you could catch with the backhoe and damage or destroy it. This one doesn't. Be a little more safe as far as being a plot next to it. So our current ordinance, 1224-110, states before a casket is accepted for burial, it must be housed within a concrete vault having fixed top and side panel edge restraints incorporated into construction, and having a strength capable of uniformly withstanding a stress of 7 1/2 pounds per square inch. And we're just looking to add that in the red, or an equivalent lightweight burial container that meets industry strength standards. So our current ordinance, as far as cremation burials go, right there at the bottom of that paragraph, already allows for other materials, but didn't specify anything for polyethylene. So that was the mayor's request, is that we add that for the cremation vaults as well. Any questions?
So the vault that has the lip, that'll just be a recommendation to the purchaser, or do you want to require that?
I will talk to Robert and see, and these aren't exact, he's not sure these are the exact ones he's going to be using. When I met with him, it was probably 1st of December. He's gonna get everything squared away. He said hopefully January, February, figure out exactly which ones. And that all depends on feedback he gets from us as well.
Okay.
And so I'll talk to him and see, but I'll let him know we want to do the heavy duty one if we do. So, and he's to work with us either way.
What's the difference in the costs?
He said, and again, he didn't have everything worked out yet, but he said it would probably be several $100s versus a concrete vault.
Okay, cheaper.
So, which, yes,
Yeah.
which could make funerals
Okay.
get expensive, so. I'll have
They
to-
are, I've experienced that.
So,
It's bad.
it's a good alternative.
So what's the stress limit on these new,
It's about the same as what we have in our ordinance. It meets the strength standards of the concrete. In fact, they're actually, again, depending on which manufacturer, stronger than the concrete.
Okay, very good. Any other questions?
I have one more. Is polyurethane the same thing as fiberglass?
No. Polyethylene is kind of hybrid blend between fiberglass and plastic. And some of them will be, a fraction of it will be recycled materials. But these things, they last, I mean, they're forever. Landfills don't want polyethylene because it never goes away.
Okay,
So,
It's all your water lines and
yeah,
it's all your fuse pipe and, I mean, that's
Okay.
high density stuff, but.
Hmm.
This will be a good product. This is,
that's good.
and so
Yeah, especially in the older part of the cemetery. Be very helpful.
yeah, these will outlast any of your concrete vaults.
yes, well, and Brock recommended last time, maybe looking at making these mandatory for our historical section. Because like I said last time, we have to get in there with our equipment, obviously, to do the opening. But the vault truck with all the added weight, the concrete vault, more often than not, when we have a burial over there, we have to call every time the vault company, let them know where it is so they can bring a four-wheel drive truck. And I'd say probably a third of the time, we end up having to pull that truck out the backhoe because it gets stuck.
Oh,
So depending on time of year and moisture we received, I mean, it's different all the time, but yeah, that's not a good scene when families are at a funeral and hooking the truck to a back. So,
For sure. Okay, then I would entertain a motion, council.
I move that we approve the addition to Title 12, Chapter 12-24-110.
I'll second that. Is that, or is that the whole name?
I need to add ordinance number 2024-01 to that and approve that.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll second it.
So motion by Krista, second by Janine to amend Title 12, Chapter 12.24.110 and approve ordinance 2024-01. All right, any questions on that motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries unanimously. Thank you, Ryan.
thank you.
All right, item number 2 is discussion and action to update line extensions and connection fees presented by Gary Hall, our power director.
Good evening, council. Welcome, Dave and Janine. I'll give you kind of a brief explanation of what this is. So we have a policy that has our electrical connection fees, so how much we charge our customers when they sign up for an electrical service. And then it also includes a line extension policy, which is if there's a piece of property that does not have power to it, this gives us some guidance on what to charge to get power to that property. The thing that's going to affect the customers the most is the connection fees, so that's the biggest thing that changed. What this reflects, last time this was done was in 2014, so 10 years ago was the last time it's done, so it's way overdue. And so the prices have jumped considerably just for labor costs as well as material costs. 'Cause material costs have more than doubled in 10 years. So these prices reflect those changes. So on this table 1, it just shows for a residential, new point of delivery. So this is a new home being built. It breaks it down to the 2 overhead services, one for 200 amp, one for 400 amp, and the same for an underground service for 200 amp or 400 amp. And the first column there shows the new connection fee proposed, and then the 2014 fee and the difference between the two. So you can kind of see that, just say, most of the services we do now are underground. We hardly ever do an overhead service actually anymore. So we actually don't allow an overhead service anymore. We always do underground. So it went from $374 to $758, so it more than doubled. But that just reflects the labor costs and material costs, and also the price of meters of, I'm not sure, the meters we used to use to the smart meters that we're using now. So,
And most homes are at the 200 amps, right?
yes, most homes are at 200 amp service.
Okay.
And then you have your commercial connections as well, different meter types, 200 amp, 400 amp. There again, overhead we don't do anymore. they just included them because they were in the old policy. So there your breakdown of your commercial connections as well.
And can you explain table 2, what existing point of delivery means?
So an existing point of delivery, so just as an example, Randy Fry has an old home on Vernon Street, and he's building a shop back there. So there's a meter on the home, but he's upgrading it from a 200 amp to a 400 amp service, so that's an existing point of delivery. So we would use this existing point of delivery as the,
Okay.
or if somebody needs to, say they need their power turned off, they're gonna put a new meter panel on and they're keeping the same size as a meter panel, they need to do some work and upgrade their meter panel, we would charge them this connection fee at the new point of, the existing point of delivery.
Now, Gary, just to be clear, this isn't the meter and upgrading things like that. This is just the delivery fee. If you're going from a 2 to a 400 amp, you're charging them.
It'd be the connection fee because you're gonna have to change the meter and
Yeah.
stuff, and then you're also gonna have to, we would charge them for the impact fees as well. There's
Oh, okay, and that's not shown on there. This
No.
is just just specific to the connection fee.
yes.
Okay. Does your underground point of delivery obviously you're doubling, but, PVC between 2014 and now has probably quadrupled in price. So,
Yeah.
is this adequate for what covers the service and?
Yeah, I should have mentioned that earlier. ICPE, or Intermountain Consumer Professional Engineers, they're our electrical engineering firm. And they went through and got material costs. We sent them what we had, the most updated ones, and then they reached out to different suppliers to get material costs to compile this and put this together. And there's clauses in here as well. In the actual policy, it states that these are just suggestions, not the connection fees, but like the line extension policies and stuff, that if we run into something where the distance is more than 100 feet, the city has the ability to charge actual cost for material, so.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Anything else, council? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Jarrett, before we take a motion, can I make one comment on this?
For sure.
So this item actually should be adopted by resolution. That resolution number didn't get on the agenda, but we do have a resolution prepared, and I think that it's been distributed to the council members. It would be resolution number 2024-02R for purposes of the motion. But the resolution is just to adopt the connection fee schedule and the line extension policy, so.
I also have a question. We need to establish an effective date for this with the adoption.
Yes, I was gonna ask that. Is there Matt, one question for you. Is there a time delay that needs to happen with this, like a 90-day?
No, in fact, the resolution that's prepared says it's effective upon approval,
Oh, okay.
so.
I was just talking with Selena and Cody about it. They were thinking there might be some kind of time delay that needs to happen. The fee schedule change.
Yeah, I think the only thing that would warrant a delay would be, say, for example, you have an application that's already pending for something that's covered by the fee schedule. If there's a completed application in hand, they would be entitled to pay the earlier fee, not the new fee. But otherwise, it'll go into effect immediately.
Okay, any other questions, or are we ready for a motion? And just a reminder, the resolution I have it here in front of me is number 2024-02R. I don't know if it got in the packet. I don't think it did.
It didn't, no.
No.
I move,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I move that we approve resolution number 2024-02R as presented. You want more than that?
I second the motion.
So yeah, any discussion on the motion? Do we want to include language about approving the new connection fees and updated line extensions policy? Or is that all inclusive in the ordinance?
It's all inclusive in the resolution.
Okay. I think we're okay. Any other questions on the motion? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That
I
carries
didn't know if we
unanimously.
needed to go.
Do we need roll call?
I think we
Do you
need a
want
roll
roll call on
call
that
with
one?
money. I'm
Okay.
sorry. That's why I was, probably where it's a money item. We probably need to roll call.
Okay, very good. Well, let's start on your end, Ben.
Aye.
Janine?
Aye.
Krista?
Aye.
I'm also an aye, and Dave?
Aye.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Council.
council, appreciate it.
All right, move on to item number 3, which is a discussion action to update Title 5, Chapter 5.04, business licenses, and Title 9, Chapter 9.12.021, excessive noise prohibited, and approve ordinance 2024-05, presented by Jim McNulty.
Thanks, excuse me, thanks Mayor Pro Tem Wade, council members, good evening. So this is an item we have discussed a few times before. We had a discussion on November 15, 2023 during a work meeting on some updates to this section of code. And then we did have a second discussion. This item was brought to the council on December 13, 2023. And council asked city staff to take a closer look at setting a decibel limit within chapter, this is wrong, I'm sorry, 9.12.021. And so we've taken a look at that, and what I would like to do, rather than read from this, Brock, is go through the draft ordinances themselves. So we have 2 titles of code, city code, not the land development code, but 2 titles of code that we're looking at making some changes to this evening. The first is adding a section 5.04190 for commercial businesses, and the second is 5.0420, 200 for food trucks and food trailers. So as you know, there are food trucks, but there are also food trailers that are pulled by a truck to and from a site and left over time. And so if we go to the proposed language for 5.04.190 commercial businesses, we have the following language to add to this title of city code, which hasn't changed since our last meeting. Any commercial business within 100 feet of residential property is required to meet the following. Item 1, the business may be open no earlier than 6 a.m. and no later than 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday. Item A2, the business may be open no earlier than 6 a.m. and no later than 12 a.m. midnight on Friday and Saturday. Item 3, the use of a drive-up or drive-through pickup window service must meet the requirements of Chapter 9.12.021, excessive noise prohibitive city code. We'll go through that in just a minute. And then the new part we added here by separating and creating a new section. 5.04200 is food trucks and food trailers. Item A, any food truck or trailer is required to meet the following. 1, a food truck or food trailer is required to get a business license as well as an annual health department inspection. Verification of a business license and annual health department inspection from other Utah jurisdictions is required during the business license process. A food truck or food trailer must meet the requirements of Chapter 9.12021, excessive noise prohibited of city code. And then Brock, if we can go to Title 9.
Can I ask a question real quick
Sure.
about the previous section, the hours of operation?
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking of Country Kids down on Country Lane, and I looked at their hours. They open at 5:45 a.m. And I think that's within 100 feet of residential.
Okay. We could set it for 5:30. The idea was just trying to lessen the disturbance or impact, on the homeowners that are adjacent to it. Trying to think about Country Kids with the homes there.
Yeah, I don't know if they are within 100
You would
feet.
have some that close to Country Kids. I know there is one back there It's kind of a flag lot with a dirt access behind where Country Lane Commons is being built. And then we have homes that face off of Country Lane. But I think we could adjust it to 5:30 if the council's comfortable with that. I think our emphasis was looking at commercial businesses, you know, retail, restaurants, things of that nature in close proximity to residences. So, and then the idea, go ahead, Rob.
I was just gonna add to that, you also have in a commercial side is like Domino's down in the Santa Clara, the town square, which would be within 100 feet of those residences that back there to Arrowhead Trail, and I believe they're open till midnight.
Every night? Is that a Friday, Saturday thing, or every night?
Every night, according to their,
Oh,
what I see.
that's awfully late to order a pizza.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I can see
Gotta
if
have
it
a
was by
pizza.
Utah Tech, by the university, but here in Santa Clara, I wonder what kind of business they do up here. So, okay. Can we go, let's go to Title 9. And I know there's been some discussion about this. This came up at the last council meeting, setting a decibel limit or level. None of us here proclaims to be an expert in decibels and measuring and figuring this out. It's our best attempt. So we've had a chance to study this a little bit, and based on some research that we've seen, and I'll just read it. It's from the Decibel Pro, and it talks about residential areas. And it says, any noise exceeding 70 decibels is considered disturbing. Residential limits usually start at, and this it goes backwards, at 60 or 55 decibels, which is the equivalent noise of a regular vacuum cleaner. Time limits can apply. And then it talks about how to measure it, but it talks about meters rather than feet. But it talks about there is usually a big difference between decibel readings near the source of the noise and readings tens or hundreds of meters. So for reference, a meter is 3.37 feet. So 10 meters would be 33.7 feet. 100 meters would be the length of a football field, just over 300 feet. So that's kind of the breakdown. But there's a situation here where they kind of indicate an example. And it says, for example, let's assume your neighbors are playing loud music at a level of 70 decibels. And the allowed limit is 60 decibels. If 70 decibels is the decibel level near the speakers, and 60 decibels at your property limit or property line, they may not be in violation of your regulations. So it talks about, you know, the point versus, you know, the distance from property line. And that's kind of what we've been talking about in the case of the food truck and everything else, trying to figure out what is an acceptable level from the property line or for that zoning boundary from commercial to residential. And what we came up with was 60. Now, previously we had talked about 50, but 60 seems to be the norm. So in item B here under 9.12.021, we've just added thereto shall not exceed 60 decibels. As you know, the other items in there were just a standard cleanup from last time. And then item C, we also state shall not exceed 60 decibels. And then the back of this, where we've added some new provisions that are similar to last time, but we did change them. Item N says the use of a drive-up or drive-through pickup window service before 6 a.m. or after 10 p.m. daily for commercial businesses within 100 feet of a residential property, which may also include a menu board and speaker system. Item O, the use of a drive-up or drive-through speaker system shall emit no more than 60 decibels when measured at 4 feet directly in front of the speaker and shall not be audible above daytime ambient noise levels beyond the property boundaries. Matt, I believe I forgot to strike the last sentence here, like you and I had talked about a week or two ago, where that last sentence didn't apply anymore based on the change we made to the wording. Is that what you recollect?
Yeah, and I think we also made a change in that section so that the 60 decibels is again measured at the property line and not in front of the speaker. Do you remember discussing that?
I don't.
Okay.
I thought we had left it like that, but we just struck that last sentence.
I do remember we had struck that last sentence, yeah.
And then we also, item P, the use of a food truck trailer with or without a generator within 75 feet of residential property. Use of a food truck or food trailer with or without a generator within this distance is prohibited. The noise levels associated with such use beyond this distance shall emit no more than 60 decibels as measured at the property boundary. So last week I had a chance to go out there with a decibel meter and I was trying to understand. They put the trailer now, it was in the parking area between the dollar store and O'Reilly's for a while. I've been at a conference this week, but last week they had it in the corner of the shopping center, again, behind the dollar store next to Rachel Drive. They had put it there again. And what I did is I parked my vehicle 7 spaces away, so they're taking certain spaces next to Rachel, and I parked on the end under the light. And we know parking spaces are 9 feet wide, they're 9 by 18. From my truck, I rolled down the window another 2 feet. At 65 feet, I was getting measurements of 57 to 60 on the meter, but I was directly west, because the way they have the trailer parked is it's open in front, and you can see the propane tanks, and I believe there are generators in there, so you can hear the noise. I don't know if it's the same one that used to be out next to the trailer itself, but the generator seems to be muffling the sound a little bit. But at 65 feet, I was getting that measurement between 57 and 60 decibels is what I was picking up. And so that kind of falls within that limit of 60. The other thing is, if we adopt this, they're not in compliance with the ordinance because they would have to move that food truck or food trailer 75 feet away. And right now, they're probably 30 to 35 feet from that wall. I didn't get that distance, but it's probably half the distance of where I was parked and measured the sound level from, just based on me, looking at it. But those were the readings I got, and then I went between Christmas and New Year's, and I got a similar reading. So I've been up a couple times trying to figure it out. But to be perfectly honest, other places I've worked, it's the UPD or police department that enforces the noise ordinance and has decibel training. So we're doing our best here trying to come up with something that will work for our residents.
I had a question relates to hours on N about the drive-up or drive-through pickup window. I looked, and the new restaurant in Giovanni is open till midnight.
Yeah.
So,
and we had it and that's been a concern of ours, that close to the homes right there. He put a sign up saying that he's open from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. every night. He originally wanted to be open to 2 a.m. because that's what they have on Bluff Street, and then the new one on Riverside over by Dinosaur Crossing. But both of those are right next to major arterial roadways like Bluff and Riverside. They don't abut single-family homes, and that's our concern here, and especially with that drive-up window. I mean, that's just a concern, and we now know that their menu board has a speaker as well. So we just think there needs to be some limitations. There isn't a home directly behind. It's a vacant single-family lot that's just been sitting for years. But some of those other homes are way less than 50 feet away. Right where the drive aisle turns, and then you have little wall. I don't know if those homes are 10 or 20 feet behind the wall, but they're within 50 feet from that business to the home. So that's a concern because we can see that coming up. The other thing that hasn't come up yet, but probably will, is the smell. I mean, they say it's the smell of doing business, right? But I think some of the residents may not like that smell late at night and early in the morning.
Maybe let me just clarify on the Domino's. Sunday through Thursday, they're open till midnight, and Friday and Saturday till 1 a.m.
Okay.
So that also would have an issue with our ordinance right there.
yeah.
Well, in Alfredo's, they could potentially just close their drive-through at an earlier time, right? 10 p.m. and just be open for in-store till midnight.
Yeah, is that on?
No.
I really think that's our biggest concern is that pickup window or drive-up window after 10 speaker system. So maybe they could comply with that and Sunday through Thursday, 10 p.m. And then Friday and Saturday till midnight with the drive-through. I know the late night business is what they're looking for because the other businesses are closed. And I think most of that is drive-through, after 10 at night.
Yeah, I just imagine they want to keep their drive-through open the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm sure they do.
It's hard to have a crystal ball and see what all the problems in the community could be, but I kind of see that this as an issue coming up sooner rather than later. And so we're just trying to, think ahead a little bit.
I also don't know, but I would look at Lightfoot's, Dutchman's. Are they open after 10 during the week till 11? I mean, those are impacts that you're going to have to multiple businesses within our community if you change. We do go to a 10 p.m. during the week. Those are significant changes to those businesses.
Yeah, council, do you have any input on that?
I would have a question on the legality side of it, Matt. We've got a business that's just come in and opened with an expectation, and now we're changing that. I guess.
We don't really have anything on the books right now. That's why we're trying to address it because it's not in the code.
Yeah, again, I'm thinking a business that's come in just recently trying to, again, this wouldn't have been restricting in hours and all of a sudden now and it's not a lot of time, but it's a couple hours on the weekdays and an hour on the weekend, so.
Well, I'm not going to guarantee that someone wouldn't challenge these changes, but I will say that I think where we're dealing with externalities that extend beyond the boundary lines of a commercial property, we're talking about noise and potential nuisance that goes beyond the wall. I believe you have the right to regulate that without a lot of limitation, frankly. So.
And I'm wondering, Matt, Brock, do any of these other businesses have drive-throughs? Maybe they're allowed to stay open till midnight. Restrict the drive-through to 10 p.m. Domino's doesn't have a drive-through, and I don't think those other businesses have that.
Yeah, and we would have the ability to do that under this ordinance that's proposed by just changing the open times to allow them to stay open later, but leaving the drive-through limitation to 10. That would be an easy change.
And maybe the weeknight, the Domino's example is till midnight, and then Friday and Saturday night till 1 a.m. But that drive-through is limited to 10 p.m.
Yeah.
10 p.m.
Well, Domino's doesn't have a drive-through, right? It's just walk-in.
No,
Yeah.
It can be loud, especially
Yeah.
when people are trying to sleep.
I mean, I think the hard thing, and of course, this is the challenge for the city council as well, but Jim and I have been sort of trying to hit a very subjective target here. And so, what we've put in front of you is sort of our best attempt, but that doesn't mean it's the only or the absolute right way to do it. It really comes down to what you as a council feel is appropriate. Because as Jim said earlier, we are not experts on, sound and smells and things like that.
I think going out there walking around.
Well, I think it's, like I said, I think from a decibel level and the distance there, I think we've done well. Again, you're not an expert, but it does seem like we've done enough research to know, okay, the intent is, hey, we want to move those noises away a little bit. The question then comes in just, for me, would be hour of use and,
Right.
because you build a drive-through like that, for a lot of businesses, they'll shut their front door down and leave their drive-through open.
Right, just
And
the
so
opposite.
we're doing just the opposite, saying leave your front door open and we'll,
And you've got security issues with
Yeah,
staff
yeah.
rate.
yeah, and so, and I like Alfredo A's, so I'm kind of a
And some
burrito
of
guy,
us
so.
are- and some of us are night
So I probably
watch.
should have disclosed that in the opening there, but
Yeah,
I frequent them often, so.
yeah.
But it is, that is, of all the buildings that are there, this is the one that's probably has the most impact with that board.
I really wish they would have put it on the opposite end next to Pioneer Parkway.
Right.
But we didn't have any say on that. They decided who the users were. Jersey Mike's is coming in. You may have seen the sign in the last week. And to me, those restaurants should have been the end caps and the other users should have been towards the residential. But
Right.
that's the building, the property owner decided how he was gonna lease it out. That's ask, so.
It's too bad.
So I guess I'll just say, on the whole hours thing, I think we need to talk about, like open hours to make sure we're not inhibiting someone's business. But on the drive-through window, for me, as long as it's not breaking the noise barrier that we're setting up, I don't know if I care so much about when they're using it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Like, this would definitely protect the residential
As long as
neighbors.
it doesn't exceed the decibel limit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you think about it, I mean, if you really wanted to get into the weeds on this, every gas station in town's open 24/7.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go pump gas at Lightfoot's and
Yeah.
Dutchman's and Harmon's all night long. Open your door and listen to Van Halen and pump the music, so.
Well, and is the 24-hour fitness place still open there? Next to the eye center and
No,
that closed?
not there anymore.
But that's another use where they're open 24 hours a day.
Also not next to residential
Right.
property, though.
Yeah, no, and none of those are, you're right. I say that and go, the intent of this, but, I kind of feel the same way. I think when we started with this, we were really trying to target a decibel and how to address that. And Jim, you've gone through and added, and I don't disagree with hours of business. I think we've got to have something there. It's just, we're kind of looking at this now going, all right, is that exactly what we're looking for in our commercial area? And it is adjacent to residential, like you said.
Well, it's always something we could revisit if there's problems. I just think it would be nice to get something in the code, and then we take a look at it again if we have complaints, if it becomes an issue. Not sure how else to handle it. But right now, there's nothing.
Yeah, I think we can just make a few edits and approve it.
Edits as far as making it so they can stay out open later.
Yeah, so we can change, anything that's presented before us, just as
Yeah.
part of the motion. We would just say, with the change of this section, this letter, to say this, or something like that. Or
And
striking something.
Yeah, and I have it open here and I'm ready to make revisions. So whatever you'd like to see.
Some of us like to eat at midnight.
Jim, what'd you say Alfredo A's current hours, what they've stated they're going to be open? Do you know those hours?
Right out front where they have the signs, it says 6 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Which should be 12 a.m., right?
12 a.m.
Is that
12
every
a.m.?
night?
It just says open daily, 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. So there isn't a breakdown.
Okay.
But they wanted to be open to 2 a.m. and that's what really got me concerned for our residents. That's all.
And that fits in the hour of closing fits to like what Domino's is
Yeah.
to Thursday, but Domino's does do till 1 a.m. on the weekends.
Right. The one on Bluff, the homes are way up there, and the one on Riverside, there's no homes in that area. So, and it's drowned out by the cars driving by, a lot of the drive-through noise, so.
Yeah, and on Google Maps, it shows their hours is 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. for Alfredo's Aw.
12 a.m., I'm sorry, midnight.
Yeah.
Krista was trying to correct you, but you weren't listening.
Every once in a while on Friday and Saturday, I'm up till 12:30, come on.
Our goal was really to have you come out of that seat 8 times on this presentation, and you're at 7, so any more questions?
So I think, council, we should decide on 5.04.190 if we want to change the potential business hours or strike them, or I don't know exactly what we want to do on that. And then just decide on drive-up hours. I think those are the two issues we're really concerned about. Mayor, do you have any input on this?
When this thing first came to us, it was all about the food truck, and it's kind of grown because we lack some of the clarification in the ordinance. The thing that I worry about is impacting an existing business and making Santa Clara appear to be not friendly for commercial. We need the commercial growth to help with the sales tax base, and so we don't want to be perceived as anti-commercial. I don't know what, Jim, if you've looked to see what St. George and Washington have as far as their hours, and if there's limitations relative to location that we can include in there so that we don't negatively impact any existing businesses or create an obstacle for potential business from locating in Santa Clara.
Yeah, I haven't had an opportunity to do that. The other two locations, like I indicated, are open till 1 or 2 a.m., depending on the evening. They seem set at 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. at this location. That's what they have right on the board as you walk in. You know, the sign in the window right as you walk in. So I think that works for them. I think 12 p.m. is pretty good. I think it would take some time to see what all the cities are allowing. I mean, it's not uncommon that something can be open to 1 or 2 p.m., but usually they're by a major roadway, not so close to a single-family neighborhood.
One thing that just crossed my mind as well is Harmon's. So as the development goes on behind Harmon's, if we're defining specific business hours, that's going to impact Harmon's during the week. And they're open till 11 o'clock or midnight. And so if we're defining that it's 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., once that residential piece starts going in behind Harmon's, that's going to be within 100 feet of Harmon's and impact Harmon's as well.
If the intent is just to address the noise, then maybe we don't need to address hours if we're just going to be using decibels. And is also the intent to only enforce that if there's a complaint, or are we asking the police department to kind of monitor that?
And that's something I'd have to get legal and the city manager to some input on how we're going to enforce that. A lot of our enforcement is complaint-based. We don't have a lot of code enforcement. PD's going through some changes, and we had a code enforcement officer recently fired, so I don't know that at this point. So.
Well, and maybe the way to look at it, if we do want to keep the hours in, is just adjust it to what currently some of these businesses already are. Maybe it is 12 a.m. midnight on weekdays and 1 a.m. on weekends to allow for a Harmon's for.
I think that works.
You know, I think that encompasses everything we have currently under that and gives direction moving forward and clear understanding for future businesses that, hey, this is what this is. Not that we have a lot that are going to be adjacent to residential neighborhoods, but I think it encompasses the businesses that are already here, the Country Kids, the Harmons, and those that are already operating on that, and yet gives direction for those that may still be coming.
We want them to be successful.
Yeah.
We're just worried about proximity to homes and residents.
I think that would solve it. I think under the decibels, the noise, the food trucks, I think you've done spectacular, and it's just, again, it's morphed and added, and which we appreciate that. You know, let's get it in there when we do it. So I would say we maybe move to 5:30 where it's in the morning, like we talked, and move to 12 a.m. midnight on weekdays and 1 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays, and that would probably, I think that would encumber everything what we're looking for.
I like that.
Do you want to make a motion? Or is there any other discussion?
Is there any more comment on it, or?
Hey, Jeff,
Yeah.
or Jim, or Matt, does this also impact deliveries? Like the issue we've had up on Santa Clara Elementary where the Cisco truck pulls in the middle of the night and beeps.
We're not addressing delivery.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, because you're going to have, you possibly could have deliveries in your commercial district at any hours.
Mayor, the one thing I would say is that may be addressed under our existing ordinance. You know, because we do have some restrictions in there related to, you know, mechanical and amplified sound at certain hours of the night. So,
Okay.
but definitely the changes we're talking about are not directed to that type of issue.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
So then, moving on to the drive-up pickup window times. Ben, what are you thinking on that?
The pickup window, I would say they stay the same, as long as, again, I think the intent was the same as what I was thinking is, I think those could stay the same hours, and you're looking at
So
decibel
the
levels.
same as the operating hours?
That's correct.
So the 5:30 to midnight, 5:30 to 1, depending on the day of the week. So
Yeah.
the drive-through window would be the same.
They'd be the same hours. Obviously, the decibels, what we're
Yeah.
really want. And I think it'd be important to, especially with Alfredo A's, maybe a couple of these where maybe there has been a concern or complaint, just to sit down and say, hey, these are, you know, this is really the concern and the reason for it. And I think they would understand.
Okay, and then one other question. On O, it says 60 decibels measured at 4 feet directly in front of the speaker, but Matt had mentioned maybe that should just be property line. So we need to decide on that too.
We could change
Yeah.
it
That's
to
a,
property line.
that's a pretty loud speaker if you're measuring, if you're sitting at the drive-up window and you're measuring that at the property line versus 4 feet.
Yeah, 'cause it's interesting, based on a menu board, that's when I
Yeah.
looked into it, most of them were from your window, when you roll your window down to order. On
Yeah.
the menu board, that was the level or where it was read from.
Yeah, and I would read that as intent, like Dave said, is the intent is at the vehicle there. So it could be pretty loud if, I think it's good the way it's written. I think at that,
Yeah.
again, I'm not a menu board expert or a decibel expert, so.
I think we just strike the last sentence, that's what I recollect, that we agreed to, just not that, the language as is with removal of the last sentence that I missed. Sorry about that.
So that's the line that says the system shall be designed to compensate for ambient noise levels in the immediate area.
Right.
That's what we would strike.
Okay.
We already have audible daytime ambient noise levels beyond the property boundaries, period. It's just, it's duplication. Strike the last sentence.
One suggestion, I think the current suggestion is to make the limits on drive-up or drive-through pickup windows the same, meaning 5:30 to 1 a.m. We could make that 12 a.m. and not impact any existing businesses, as I understand it.
With the
Is
drive-up.
it? Because I think Alfredo A's is the latest one we have. The Domino's that's open till 1 doesn't have a drive-through.
Right.
Except
So-
that Alfredo A's wanted to be open till 2, and we told them no, or we just think,
We already told them
it just
2
listed they're
was
going to
too
be at
late.
midnight.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, it's up to the council, but I just wanted to make that observation, that if you wanted to do 5:30 a.m. to midnight,
I think that works.
I don't think it would impact any existing businesses if that's the concern.
Except for Alfredo's wanted to stay open till 1. I don't know.
Well, they
I mean,
originally wanted to stay open till 2, and the staff basically already told them that that was just too late. That was too late.
You're advertising 6 to 12, that's 18 hours a day. It's
Can
for a long
businesses,
time.
could businesses ask for variance of hours if they had reasonable reasons?
It wouldn't be a variance, because it's not, it would be something that we'd have to come back and address it in our code. They'd have to request a code amendment. That's what we're doing tonight, we're amending the city code. They'd have to submit an application asking us to consider later hours. That's the way we would do it. Matt, any comments on that? That's generally the way we do it.
No, I agree.
It's a code amendment.
Yeah, there's no provision in the current code for any kind of exceptions on a case-by-case basis.
Again, we don't have anything, and we're just trying to have something.
Matt, were you, sorry, I was making notes on part of that, trying to put all this together, but you saying 5:30 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week.
Yeah, I just wanted to make the observation that I think if that was the regulation, as I understand it, wouldn't impact any current businesses, because the 1 a.m. was just to accommodate Domino's, which doesn't have a drive-through. So,
But Domino's aren't they open at 1 a.m.?
But they don't have a drive-through.
Oh, that's true.
What about a medical place that's open 24 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, so my question is do we need to define business hours as part of the commercial businesses where we have the times laid out in the noise ordinance? If we define the times within the noise ordinance, is it necessary to define the business hours as part of our application?
I think the answer is no, it's not necessary, though we do have them regulated separately in the current draft, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, down the road, like, what if a Maverick wanted to come in, or, some other type of operation that operates 24 hours a day. I mean, certainly that would be an exception to the code, but do we really need to define the hours as part of that if we haven't defined defined in the noise ordinance? That was my only question.
Yeah.
I think my answer to that would be, it is a little bit duplicative, but it also makes it really clear having it in the two spots, because we're just talking about next to residential.
Correct.
It's not all
That's
businesses.
Maverick or a convenience store, they want to be along an arterial as you drive around. They have to have that frontage.
Yeah.
Correct. I don't see any residential being that close to them because they want to be on that major roadway. So, and a corner location if they can, to have 2 points of interest.
Yeah.
If Harmon's ever wanted to become open 24 hours, like Smith's, would they be able to do it under this?
Sure. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, they're not within 100 feet. I don't know. I mean, we know they have stocking and warehouse, that type of stuff in the middle of the night. There are people that work, but it's not open to the general public.
Yeah, okay.
Like we were just talking about if the man cave she sheds go in, those are technically residential.
Yeah.
And those would be within 100 feet, I think.
Jarrett, I think that we looked at that, and I don't know if you remember, Jim, as part of one of our discussions when we were working on this, we actually
It was beyond.
talked about that, and I think we decided that if you look at, the Harmon's building where Harmon's operates, that property is beyond 100 feet, and so,
It was closer to 200.
yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And I would believe in that if this was a decision in that maybe the developer agreement as part of Silverado is an acknowledgement that Harmon's could be a 24-hour store if they, that may be something that's addressed there, knowing that, not that they will, but that they built there for an intent to, operate business there, that, because again, we don't have the rest of that flat, which is, it's zoned residential. Right now, it's PDR, PDR, so what comes back most likely will be residential.
Yeah.
So it may just something we address in that developer agreement. I don't know.
And I'll just let me add that you have at Harmon's coming the Alumni Creamery, which is going to have a drive-through window that will be attached on that east end of Harmon's. Well, so that is coming hopefully at some point.
The one out in Washington's not open.
Okay.
It's like 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. on weekends. They're not there because there's a bread place that makes really good sourdough bread out there, but they don't have late hours.
Okay.
Like I said, it's specific to the 100 feet, like Jarrett said. I think, I like the hours we've got. I like the decibel levels we've got. I don't know.
All right. Make a
We
stab
ready?
at it. I think so.
I think I've got it here. If
So we're allowing for different businesses according to their needs to have a variation in that at the time?
we're gonna set the hours,
If it would help to make your motion, I can summarize the changes that we've discussed.
You bet.
Would that
See
help?
how- Absolutely.
Okay, so from the proposed that you have in writing in front of you, these are the changes that I've made based on the discussion. On the limit to operating hours for commercial businesses within 100 feet of residential property, we changed those hours to no earlier than 5:30 a.m. and no later than 12 a.m. Sunday through Thursday, and no earlier than 5:30 a.m. and no later than 1 a.m. on Friday and Saturday. We also, in the section that talks about the time limit on the use of a drive-up or drive-through pickup window, we changed those hours from restricting it to no earlier than 5:30 a.m. or no later than 12 a.m. midnight. And then we struck the sentence at the end of section or paragraph O, which Jim had referenced. I believe those are the only changes we've made from what's before you.
That's what I had marked here as well, Matt.
Okay. So if someone wants to make a motion and reference what I said without repeating it, you're welcome to.
I will do that. Since Jim has officially hit 11 times up and down out of that chair, I am ready to make the motion. Had to hear about it from Dustin all day today, how we brought him up here 8 or 10 times for the water and the fees. So I will make the motion, let me find where we're at, that we approve an update to Title V, Chapter 5.04, under business licenses, and Title IX, Chapter 9.12.021, in the excessive noise prohibited and approved ordinance 2024-05, with the language that was presented prior from Matt Entz.
Okay, got a motion by Ben,
Second.
second by Krista. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, let's do a roll call. Let's start with Ben.
Aye.
Janine?
Aye.
Krista?
Aye.
All being aye. And Dave?
Aye.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you, council.
Good work, Jim.
Thanks.
Yeah, that was a lot to get through, but I appreciate everyone's input for sure.
I feel like we let him off easy, but
Yeah.
he earned it big time.
All right, let's move on to item number 4, which is the discussion and action to consider ordinance 2024-03, amending Title 15, Chapters 15.20.10, adoption, and 15.20.60, fire prevention, and adopt Title 2, Chapter 28.140. This is presented by Chief Parker, and I'll be talking about general fire and standby fees and ambulance billing rates.
All right, good evening, council, mayor listening online. So we had discussion last meeting regarding changing this, amending and then adding city ordinance for these different titles. But the first one, 15.2.010, is basically for the fire code. So last year we adopted specifically the 2018 International Fire Code, and we're just recommending, which was kind of discussed back then, but adding language that incorporates compliance with what the state's doing. So if the state doesn't adopt, then we don't enforce. We follow what the state's doing. So they recently adopted the 2021 International Fire Code. So instead of putting the 2021 in there, we'll just put language that allows us to be in compliance with the state when they adopt fire code. So that's that first section, 15.20.060. That is language that addresses the ability to assess for fees. So obviously in our fee listing, language in there now will say shall. So before it was a discussion between the building official and then the fire chief or designee. So now we'll have our fire marshal, and then he'll assess the fees based on the adopted fee schedule. So, and then we have a list of those fee schedules in the packet as well, of course. So that's primarily why it's with 15, because it's specifically for fire prevention. So if you look at that long list of scheduled fees, there's a majority of them are fire prevention. So that's stuff we'll be doing in town hopefully as well as in Ivans as well. But okay, so then 2.28140, that's new language in our city code that's going to adopt the general standby fees, our EMS fees that we already do assess for, and then our general fire fees, which is going to be for mitigation. And in that mitigation, there was discussion, at least in the 2 years that I've been here, as far as how do we recoup fees like out on the 91 if we have those rollover TCs, traffic accidents, or if we go up to Snow Canyon and do a rescue, how do we recoup for that cost? So we've had discussions with the county. There's actually Utah code that's 1148-103 that's relatively new that allows us to assess beyond the regular transport. So if you have chest pain, you're driving on Old Highway 91, you pull over in the Mataqua area, we come out, we transport you, we already bill for that transport to the medical insurance. This fee is going to be billed to the insurance company. So if they have a rollover accident, we do extrication with the general supply before we land the helicopter. We'll assess the insurance company fee for that, as in addition to billing the patient that's being transported their insurance. So that's the difference with this 1148-103. And then we also have Utah code, it's 1117, I believe, 1. So that code allows us to assess for fire, and that's been since 2017 in the state of Utah. The other code came in 2021. And so we're able to assess for fires that occur, let's say out in Mataqua, wherever the jurisdiction is. The importance is whoever's jurisdiction it is, they're technically responsible to provide fire coverage. So if it's in a county area, unincorporated, it's the county's duty to provide fire suppression. But because we cover over 500 square miles, right, to Nevada and Arizona, we're it. And we do have an agreement with the state. That's a whole different discussion. If it's on state land, there's a wildfire, then we have an agreement with them for reimbursement on that end. But this is specifically for like a house fire, car fire that occurs. Right now, we just go out there, put the fire out. Nobody gets assessed a fee. Taxpayers here in Santa Clara Islands pay for the wear and tear on the vehicles. If they're out there for, let's say, for a wildfire that's in a county area or a state park, and we're putting that fire out, and it goes for usually an operational period, it's 24 hours. If it's less than 24 hours, so 18 hours, we're out there fighting fire. We're going to recall our personnel, because we have 6 on per day, to come back, fill the station, let's say at Rachel. So that way we can go on our EMS call still. We're not going to just not put that rig in service. So that's overtime costs that currently the city of Santa Clara taxpayers and Ivans paying for. So that's kind of the theory on why we want to put this fee schedule into place. So I think that's it. That's kind of the overview on those ordinance for the title changes. Matt has reviewed them thoroughly and drafted what you guys have before you. So.
Maybe I'll just add on to Chief Parker, though, that new Utah Code 1148-103, municipalities and counties shall ensure an adequate level of 911 ambulance services are provided or contract to provide the ambulance service. That's the one that I guess that we've been pushing since 2021 with the county for them to contract, because right now they don't provide. And that's where the push has been to say they should contract with us, and whether it's these fees that we go out and run in the county, should we be billing the county for that service? Because we are the ones providing that service. And so that's where it happened. That took place back from Cache County Fire Chief up there in Logan. You know, they were covering out into Cache Valley and in North Logan, all at the expense of just the Logan residents. We're only paying the tax to fund that department. So that's one that I still think is one that needs to be addressed at some point within the county, that our taxpayers are covering them, and they need to help provide, because we're providing that service, they should help and contract with us to do that, or take a contract with Gold Cross and that would change, and then we wouldn't be, that would be Gold Cross's responsibility.
Yeah, we can choose to bill the county if we so desire to do that, other than, let's say if it's a car fire, we'll just bill their insurance, we'll get the license plate off hopefully the car that's on fire, and then we'll bill that insurance. But we can also have the option to bill the county, which is in this language in the resolution that you have before you as well. So,
Okay, any questions for
So we would
Fire
just
Chief?
determine which entity to bill?
say it one more
We would just determine who to bill? Decide between the county and the car owner
Correct.
under this?
Yeah, I think from my perspective, it would be dependent on the, what occurred out there. So if it's like car fire, but there's hazardous materials, it's a transportation vehicle transporting hazardous materials, then I would bill the county for that, or whoever has the jurisdiction of where it occurred. And then we would also assess the motor carrier, like the trucking corporation, for that fire as well.
So both.
We wouldn't double bill, but we would bill independent of whatever services we provide. And I'll bring back to you folks, I don't believe it's in here, but it'll be the agreement to go with Fire Recovery USA, and they handle nationally this process for billing. So they determine and have a whole staff, right? So we don't double bill and make mistakes on it. So, but we'll use a third party to bill, and they'll be in charge of the collection process.
So is the county gonna get a bill
I would love to
unbeknownst
see
to
them get a
them?
bill.
What's that?
I would love for them to get a bill.
Are they gonna get one under this?
Is that the plan?
Yeah, they will. I don't think, I think there's more discussion, because once this gets underway, there's more discussion to be had, but I think it gets technical as far as where does it happened in the Shibwitz Indian Reservation? Is it Snow Canyon? There's a lot of jurisdictional issues, BLM and so on and so forth. But I could see a potential scenario where yes, they will get a bill. It'd be something probably a larger incident that occurs. So affects property, and then, there's arterial roadway issues and damage to the roadways and those type of things. It's like, hey, we're gonna break it down and really get into what entity needs to get the bill. So.
We probably should have another sit down before the bill shows up. Not that many of these, I don't know how many chemical spills we've had out there, but, there's,
Have we?
Not many,
Yeah.
but we had 3 rollovers in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Out
I
there,
think that's-
that are extensive time that our staff is out there, which, as I say, that's our staff out there, a couple of hours that either we're calling staff in to backfill and cover while we are, or we're at the kind of mercy if anything happens back here in Santa Clara or Ivins.
Yeah, so I think there was I forget, it was like a green looking vehicle that went over this bridge, I think somewhere in the, between Shibwitz and Gunlock, that actually created hazardous materials that the county, did provide some mitigation for. So that's where they did step in through the emergency management. So we wouldn't bill for that, but, if we do provide a service, we're gonna send them a bill, so that's the plan, at least in my head.
I think it's a great plan. I just think we should probably go have one more sit down with them.
Maybe we'll have them
We
come
missed an
visit us.
opportunity. We were up there with them today and we could have just let them know,
Yeah.
hey, look for the bill. It's coming.
Okay, and then I have a question, this may be for Matt or Chief. Will this be applied to people that live in town? Because right now, in the ordinance, it doesn't say anything about only unincorporated or only outside city limits.
Sure, yeah, and item 5, there's the billing rate, fee schedule, but in there's language that's underlying mitigation. And we'll go on through it, we should probably see it now, obviously, if you're
Yeah,
gonna.
maybe pull that up, the fee schedule.
But, it talks about mitigation. So mitigation specifically is it says specifically not in Santa Clara or Ivins. That's when the mitigation comes in place. But fire prevention will occur within city boundaries. So those fire prevention fees will be inside town. The standby fees will be events occurring inside town.
I jumped one.
But your routine automotive accident, it'll just be if you get, an EMS service, then we'll provide fee for that we currently do, right? So if we assess you, we have a list of those charges that are set by the state that we currently assess. We'll charge for that. But the mitigation specifically for outside Santa Clara, that's the whole intent, obviously, of this, so. Are we able to bring that up, or do we want to just?
You talking fee schedule?
It's item 5 in the fee schedule.
It's your next packet
Yeah.
on there,
Yeah,
Brock,
go
on the
down one
left.
more.
Item 5, you're on.
So yeah, just I guess my question is, I want to be really clear. So like if there's a fire at someone's home, are they going to get a bill from the fire department?
No. Nope.
Okay.
But their insurance company will.
Pardon?
But their insurance company will.
No.
No.
So those are mitigations specifically outside of Santa Clara and Ivans. And if we can scroll down to that fee list, that would be great. Okay, we're right. Go down one. So unincorporated response mitigation rates. So that's what we're speaking about outside of city limits. So we can scroll down. If you don't
So can
mind.
you just maybe define mitigation for us? I think that would
Sure.
help everyone.
Yeah, so go scroll down to the end of that. Keep going down, please. You'll start to see language written like in a paragraph form here. Right there. So there you go. Mitigation rate notes. Bill each incident outside of the city of Santa Clara and the city of Ivans boundary limits.
So what's in the table of what does standby and unincorporated response fees mean?
So standby is going to be like True Grit, which we're already currently billing for, but we should have obviously a resolution that allows us to set those rates. Ironman, other events that we've had, obviously the PGA, those type of two, big events that we'll have, we're going to assess it before that. If we do a CPR class, we already charge a fee for that, but that's in here, right? So it's included. The only thing I think would be outside of what you're seeing is mitigation and then your prevention. We don't have anything on prevention. So those are the two kind of that we're not currently assessing fees for, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So just to be clear, when we're talking about that mitigation language that's at the end of the schedule there, it says that the department reserves the option to bill each incident outside the city of Santa Clara and the city of Ivans boundary limits for independent events with custom mitigation rates for each incident using itemized rates deemed usual and customary and reasonable. The way I read that chief, and I don't know if this was the intent or not, but it almost sounds like that's saying for events outside of the city limits, we reserve the right to charge a higher rate based on the type of event, the number of people that need to respond, all of those,
Yeah, there's leverage there for you all to deem, and if so be it, we don't want to send the bill to the county, then we don't have to, because it also, in this, it says the fire chief can deem not to assess them with fees, so.
I want to send the bill. Let's make it clear. I want to send the bill. I would think we just should sit at the table with them to
Sure, those are pretty.
let them know it. Yeah, and I know you're, yeah.
So I think there would be just, for sure, there'd be discussion with Debbie in finance and Brock before we send them a $25,000 bill for something, so.
And I think there's give and take. They're understanding that the county did just provide an ambulance. Some of those things that I think there is a good partnership there. This has just been in long discussion on how fair compensation it is. I was on one of those scenes where you guys were there. You guys were awesome. The guys were, they were there quick, and this was out there a ways on one of those rollovers, and it's out there, and you're trucking through, to get those, you're trucking through when accidents happen out there. There's wear and tear on everything and a lot of manpower there.
Yeah, I think just for background, for example, the Jaws of Life tools that we have, let's say about 2 years ago, we had an incident and the tool broke. So the tools are outdated, but in like the upcoming budget, I'm putting those to replace those tools in there, and they're $35,000, right? So where do we use those tools? 90%. I don't know if that's entirely 100% accurate. 75 to 90% is out there on the highways, not all 91 or outside city limits, because we don't have the speed in town for those type of wrecks. So typically.
So, Jarrett, sorry to belabor this, but I want to make sure that the answer to your question is clear on the record. So, Chief, again, on the question of what fees are charged for incidents outside the city limits versus incidents inside the city limits, what you're saying is because the schedule of fees in those first two sections it references those fees as unincorporated response fees. Those fees would only be charged for incidents in the unincorporated areas outside the city limits.
Correct.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I understood. And sorry,
There are times when we do have events inside city limits, they're standbys, but we're not assessing a fee it's to that event venue. So usually it's Ironman. We already have those in circulation. This is just language to say, you guys have approved us doing that, which we've already been doing for years. So we go like Ironman,
Yeah.
Grid, I think there's others, but.
And that's covered because in that first section, it says they are both unincorporated response fees and standby fees, right? Okay. So then the flip side of that then is the rest of the fees on the schedule do apply, whether it's inside or outside the city limits, right? So
That's correct.
ambulance service fees, the fees for the, each of the individual EMS items, the fire prevention fees, so like false alarm fees would also apply.
Correct.
Okay.
So everything we're already billing for currently, with the exception of the fire prevention fees in town.
Okay. Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure that was clear because Jared actually had that question earlier today too, and then brought it up here as well. So does that answer your questions that you had, Jared?
Yeah, I think just standby wasn't defined anywhere, and so that's why I thought that was just like if they're just waiting around for anything and then they show up and put out a fire at your house, then you're getting charged.
Okay, yeah, so there's a EMS rate that's set for population. So if you have an event, let's say over 500 people, they require you, so let's say your company came into town at the park, they'll require you to provide XYZ services and it's scaled up. So then you would potentially be assessed a fee for that because we're going to bring in people off shift, pay them overtime. We're going to pay reserves their wage to sit at your event for 8 hours. That's the idea. So that's already occurring. Yeah, it's just hopefully language to you've seen it and you all approve it. So. But again, the fire prevention fees I think are the ones to look at that we're not currently assessing for.
Okay, and then to hopefully not muddy the water anymore, but we do have a combined resolution. In the packet, it shows O2R and O1R, but we actually combine it into one.
Yes, and that was my fault. It was intentional because as I looked at the schedule that the chief had provided, I thought there were two schedules, one for most of the fees and then one for the fire prevention fees. Turned out the fire prevention fees were already addressed, and so we just did one resolution to cover both. So, yeah, you just have one resolution to approve.
Yeah, and this obviously currently is just for our city codes or ordinance. That's what this.
Right, that's right.
Jumped ahead.
Yeah, the first action you need to take is to consider approval of the ordinance, and then if you approve the ordinance, then you can consider the fee schedule and the cost recovery policy, which is dependent on you first passing the ordinance. So, sorry for any confusion there.
So Matt, does Ivans have to pass a similar ordinance, or where we administer, are we the only municipality that needs to pass that?
They do not need to approve it. It would be great if they would.
Have you presented it to them, Chief, or do you know what their feedback
I haven't
is?
presented, but I know Dale, city manager of Ivans, is aware of these, and I'm not sure what discussions he's had in length. It hasn't been with me, but he either got the packet or the information, but he said he's aware, council is aware. The last update I do with them on last Thursday, he's aware of it. So I haven't talked to him personally.
Yeah, so put another way, you're responsible for directing the fire and rescue department, and so you have the authority to set these fees.
Okay.
The only reason I say it would be nice if they would is just as a practical matter, I think Chief, will make them aware, and if they want to take a vote in support, that would be fine, but
For example,
it's not required.
Okay.
Our state of fire agreements signed by Mayor Rosenberg, nothing never went through Ivans, and then when we do our wildfires, it could be in their city, it could be anywhere in our sponsor, we're following that state agreement. So that's an example of what kind of we're already not saying we're kind of running the fire rescue, so That's your guys' option to approve that. We're not gonna double assess if they're already doing fees of an items for certain things, we're not. Double assessing of fees.
Okay.
And of course, the reverse is also true with respect to the police department,
Yeah.
which they have full responsibility for.
Okay, so just be really clear. Oh, do you have something, Mayor?
Just a question, the way I understand it, a city resident is covered inside the city boundary, but if I'm driving my truck over the Utah Hill and get in a car wreck, I could get billed for fees since it's outside the city boundary.
That's correct. Yes, your insurance, or if it's you, then we could not send that bill, but. It does say fire chief discretion on there.
Make a comment this,
But yes, we would typically correct. So if you're a resident passing through those unincorporated areas, we get your license plate. We wouldn't know who it was anyways, most likely, and then, because we can't run person's ID, it's the police. We just get your license plate number and send it off, so we would never know.
Yeah, I think it's important to make sure everybody kind of understands that you're inside the city, you're protected, but if you're out there, you're same as everybody else.
Just stay home.
Yeah, it's based on location of response,
Yeah.
not residence.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Mayor. So just to make it clear for whoever's making the motion, we do technically have two motions here we need to make, right? So the first is we're basically amending the ordinances, and then we need to pass a resolution to actually accept these rates and what we've talked about tonight. And in the
Yes.
packet, it says 2024-01 and 02, but it's actually just 2024-01R.
Correct.
Did that make sense to everybody?
The resolution is 01R.
Yeah.
Yes.
We combined them.
Okay.
Are we completing items 4 and 5 now? City member, or-
We would do 4 first. wouldn't
Yeah,
we?
4 should be done first.
Yeah,
Correct.
as the
So
amendment.
2024-03?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? And if not, I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we approve ordinance 2024-03, an ordinance amending Title 15, Chapters 15-20010, adoption, and 15-20060, fire prevention, and adopt Title 2, Chapter 28140, general fire and standby fees and ambulance billing rates as presented.
Second.
Okay, got a motion by Krista and a second by Ben. Any question on that motion? It's another money item, so we'll start with Dave.
Aye.
I'll say aye. Krista?
Aye.
Janine?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Thank you, council. All right, and then we'll move on to item number 5, which we've already discussed in detail. I'd look for a motion on that as well.
So 2 resolutions here, 2021, just one resolution. Oh, all right. I will make a motion that we approve Resolution 2024-01R, adopting the general fire standby fee rate and EMS billing rates, and amending the fire prevention fee rate as presented.
Second.
I'll-
Sorry.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, we've got a motion by Ben, and we'll say a second by Janine. Let's get her on the minutes for that. Any question on that motion? Okay, we'll start with Ben.
Aye.
Janine?
Aye.
Krista?
Aye.
I'm also aye. And Dave?
Aye.
That passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Chief. All right, so item number 6, we get to keep Chief there. So we're going to talk about,
We want to see some up and down. I mean, Jim got the exercise, but come on, Chief.
so we're going to consider approval of the ambulance agreements with Gold Cross.
Yeah, so part of increased cost, opening up the Center Street Fire Station, we know costs, just even for our equipment's going up considerably. Looked at ways to increase revenues without incurring costs, the property tax and taxpayer through property taxes. So I had tasked the guys with than the different programs that we have, EMS, wildfire, to look into our contracts. One of them is for ambulance billing. So we currently use a third-party vendor that is not, it's up there. So MedUSA, they're out of Salt Lake. They primarily handle medical billing, not 911 emergency transport. And in previous presentation, we listed those providers, fire and EMS providers that moved to Gold Cross Services. Let's say there's about 30 of them. So Unified Fire, Park City, Hurricane Valley, there's several that have moved to Gold Cross Services with the intent of increasing revenue. So the projections were currently, we in 2022 billed about $303,000 is our revenue. They're projecting upwards of $800,000, and you go, how do you do that? Myself and Debbie Bannon, our finance director, had a meeting with the manager with Gold Cross Services, and they went through their process of how they bill. So we're going to move to like an ePCR system as opposed to using paper reporting. The paper process there's a delay, so up to 2 to 3 weeks to get our bills into the system into MedUSA. We're moving to all electronic. That system and software allows us to get into the insurance provider in a more timely fashion, which the recuperation just for doing that increases 10 to 15%. So the system that they use also checks deductibles, whether or not they're met automatically. So they have this program. They won't go into it in too much detail, but the basis of it is revenues go way up. So also starting tomorrow, we're going to be having a paramedic at each station. When we provide paramedic service, that rate's obviously higher. When we provide that service, we charge a higher amount. So that was projected at $100,000 based on our transports. We have about 705 transports. It was also, our EMS director, Ryan Moore, had mentioned like Snow Canyon Assisted Living. We know Black Desert is going to increase those number of calls. We're anticipating, based on other assisted living facilities, about 100 calls a year. So you go from 700 to 800 calls. So that's going to increase our net available billing. So that's kind of the idea and the concept, and then a little bit of background on why we're doing this. So I think that's pretty much all I have. The collection rate is off the net. It goes from that 4.95 with MedUSA to 5.5. So there is a cost that will incur, which is going to be that expense to Gold Cross for that percentage on the net revenue. So
On what they collect, basically.
correct, on the net, yeah. So oh gosh, I don't have it in front of me, but I want to say we billed about 1.2 million on the gross, and then the actual collection was 303,000 is what our 2022 numbers. That's like if you look at our budget on revenues for ambulance billing, it's 303,000. So you go, how do you get from 1.2 to 303? That's because of the deductibles, and then also like the VA has right off the bat, it's 50%. They only pay 50% of what we charge. So depending on the insurance provider, that component makeup within our demographics affects our billing rate. So they apply that and then spit out that 800,000. So we'll see. I can just provide the information that they provided myself, and then I went through MedUSA's numbers just to kind of get those figures for you guys tonight. So hopefully that helps a little bit.
Okay, any other questions? I guess we can just clarify on the agenda, it says ambulance agreement with Gold Cross, but it's actually Gold Cross Medical Billing Services, right?
Gold Cross Services.
Services.
The term,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion. That we approve the Gold Cross billing agreement as presented. Did I say that right? Felt like I didn't.
I feel like it was too easy.
It's not the ambulance agreement. It's
Billing,
the billing
Gold Cross Services.
with Gold Cross Services. Thank you.
Can I interject one? Do we have the business associate agreement on there too? Was that in there?
There's 3 of them in there.
Just after just so you know, that's a HIPAA compliance form that we had to make sure I can bring that back to at a later time if it's not in there.
I would say that that's part and parcel of the other agreement, so I don't think it needs a separate approval.
And Ben, it like on the staff report, it's pretty clear on what the motion should include. So you might want to just double check with that. Because it has an effective date as well.
Oh, down here. A lot of numbers.
It's item number 6, the very first
Oh, right
page.
here. It's on this. I got you.
That's what's being
We'll
recommended.
get this
to
right,
us.
because Sheesh. Why I'm looking for this, I think this is a great move. This is,
Or it's right up there too, if you want to just look at that.
oh, I'll go right there. I recommend that we approve the ambulance medical billing business service agreement and business associate agreement with Gold Cross Services. I'm going to read the whole thing. Effective January 29th, 2024.
Yeah, that should be good.
That should do it. There you go.
Okay, motion by Ben,
I second the motion.
second by Dave. Any questions on that motion? Okay, we'll start with Dave.
Aye.
I'm also an aye. Krista?
Aye.
Janine?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
That passes unanimously.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief. All right, let's go back to our agenda. So we have item number 7 is appoint a new member to the Solid Waste Board. Mayor, do you want to maybe take this one?
And maybe we can talk about item 8 at the same time. Every year, the first of the year, we go through the council assignments and make assignments to the individual council members to serve on boards and district boards and advisory boards within the county where Santa Clara City is offered a seat at the table to participate. I've talked to Dave about appointing him to be Santa Clara City's rep on the Solid Waste Board to replace Denny Drake, who was served on that previously. We need to have that one approved formally. That's why it's on its agenda by itself. And that has to be done before their meeting, which is coming up in a week or two. I've also reached out to Janine and asked her to serve on the Snow Canyon Advisory Board, which they have a meeting later this month as well to talk about activities and proposed projects and improvements in Snow Canyon. And so I'd like to make that assignment. I know Jared's in love with mosquito abatement, so I don't want to change anything there. Ben, we're going to keep Ben on flood control because he's too hard to teach new tricks. And I'll stay on the others. The rest of the assignments, council, I'd like to talk about with you at next week's work meeting when I can be there in person and we can talk about a little bit more about what each of those assignments are. So if that's okay to make that appointment for Dave tonight, everybody else knows what their current assignments are, and we'll get the rest of them done at next week's meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
And Jarrett, can I just make a comment? With respect to what you and I discussed earlier, I just wanted to mention for the benefit of the new council members, appointments like this, including appointments to serve on city committees like the Planning Commission or other special committees, those appointments are actually made by the mayor, but generally they're done with the advice and consent of the city council. And so that's what we're asking for from you this evening is for your approval of the appointments made by the mayor or chosen by the mayor. So
That's great.
Okay, then I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the appointments made by the mayor to the Solid Waste Board and the Snow Canyon Board and the Mosquito Abatement Board as presented by the mayor.
I second that.
Okay, motion by Krista and a second by Janine. Any questions on that?
Get flood control.
And flood control, I will add that.
I always get forgotten. All right.
And the amended motion is to include flood control. And are you okay with that amendment, Janine?
Yes.
Okay, so second stands. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries unanimously. Very good. So yeah, so item number 8 and item number 9, I think we just want to table those, like Mayor said, until we're all together. So I would just entertain a motion to table items 8 and 9.
Mayor, I will be sitting on a beach in the Dominican Republic next week, so can I just call you for my request?
But you call me with your requests, and then we'll appoint you to what I want.
That's exactly what I spent 3 days with staff. I should get some extra bonus points for that, so.
As long as you solve the water crisis while you were there.
Oh, we've got water for another 5 years. We're good, we're good.
We lost 50 years while you guys were up there. I need to get back to work.
Okay, well, I will make the motion that we table items 8 and 9.
Second.
Okay, motion by me, a second by Ben. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries unanimously. Very good. All right, so we're on item number 5, reports, our mayor and council reports. Can we start with you, Ben?
I am looking forward to it. So as spoken, Ryan, Dane, Christelle, Brock, Jim, and Dustin and I spent the last 3 days. Did I miss anybody? Cody wasn't there, so. Yeah. Spent the last 3 days in Cedar City at a water conference for Washington County. All the cities were there, and you go into these conferences thinking you're going to be sitting there watching all day things. This was a very good hands-on conference with a lot of, with an agenda that it's really kind of a, starting at the cities on how we look at our water and each one specifically, and really goal-driven on that. I will say this, and even though our city did not get the accolades they should have by implementing AMI meters first and the software, which we all did first, we are way ahead of most when it comes to the things that can save and conserve water. I'm confident we will implement the software, the apps, all of that's coming up before any other city, because they've been working on, this has been in the works for years. So we came out of that as a group with some fantastic short-term goals that I think are easily met. What we did is we broke out into group discussions with our group for most of the time, with our city alone, with advisors and others. The Conservancy was there, the county was there, state representatives, different groups were there. We would break into some other groups with other cities and have discussions, but mainly it was our group talking about our city and our needs. And again, I think most cities are struggling with the same thing. We're happy to, Dustin shared that we're down, even though we over 4% growth, we're down 2.5% in use. Those are big numbers. That's only going to get better with things that we've approved with the Santa Clara Elementary and other things like that. But we're going to see big things. This will be presented. We've set some dates and assignments, and this will be shared more with council and staff. And the idea is to take everything we've got starting here, and then from there being able to implement it to the residents. And I think we've got a good plan. It was actually fun. I was proud to be from Santa Clara. We were leaps and bounds ahead of most. We're in a good spot with water. We were. And Jim presented, covered us today. He did a great job. And like I said, we've got some great goals. But it was a great conference, and sometimes you go into those wondering, and this was very well done. So glad to be a part of it.
Okay, that's great to hear. All right, Janine?
Well, I attended did I just tell you something that would include any of it? This is really
Yeah, is there anything
cool.
you've done as a council member that might be important to all of us?
Well, I'm sorry that we didn't get to hear from Rabbi Abender. I just listened to her speak this week, and it was at a really great, it was a great luncheon, and she spoke, and she's a really neat lady, prominent member of the community, and I was excited because I thought I was going to see her again.
Have you done any like new council training with the league or anything like that you want to report on?
Yes, I went to a City of Leagues and County, no.
The Utah League of Cities and Towns
Yes.
crash course.
Went to that crash course, and I came home with stacks of study material, and I haven't read it all. I will admit that, but I learned a lot. It was good.
Okay, very good. All right, Krista?
I attended the prayer over the city on New Year's Day with the Interfaith Council, who usually comes and helps us with our prayers and our comments at the beginning of our meeting. It was really neat, and I would encourage you all to reach out and try that maybe next year. Also attended LPC on Monday this week. We'll be watching for legislation throughout the session that will come down that will try to address housing potentially. The governor, as you know, has kind of unveiled his plan regarding housing, may have implications for cities, so we'll be keeping an eye on that. I want to remind you that the legislative session starts next week on the 16th and ends on March 1st. And they are asking city councils to reach out to their representatives and let them know what they're already doing with respect to housing, and ask how they, let them know that we support, partnership, not preemption.
Okay, excellent. All right, Dave?
I did the same thing that Janine did, participated in the Utah League of Cities and Towns. Just a crash course training. It was very insightful, so.
Okay, very good. I haven't had any meetings or anything since our last meeting. I just want to remind everyone we do have the What's Up Down South tomorrow, if you registered for it. It'd be nice if we could get a table together. We can just talk afterward about that. And then I do have just a bit of sad news. The director of Shakespeare in the Park had a death in the family that's directly affected their ability to hold the event. And so they're going to postpone by 1 year.
Oh.
So it's a real bummer, but so Brock is going to reach out to Heidi Lee, who's the director, and sort things out financially, because they'd received RAP tax funds, but we'll be able to resolve that without any issues. So, but yeah, we'll have to look forward to it next year, not this spring, unfortunately. I think that's all that I have. Staff, anything that needs to come before us before next week? Brock's got a couple
I have
things.
2 items. You may be getting some emails that will be coming technically from Lance, but I think they'll say Engagify. That's the legislative bill tracking software, things that will affect municipalities. And he's going to be sending those on to you guys to get what your feelings and take on it, to develop a position the city will take to when he speaks with representatives. Here's where the city's position is on those. So when you get those, please read them. Reach back out to Lance, let him know, here's your thoughts and feelings. And he may at time come back here and say, hey, what position do you, as a council, what do you want to take on this? And then also in reaching to you to say, hey, also not only him, but you reaching out to certain representatives, not only ours, but maybe others that we need to reach out to. So just look for those. I know Ben mentioned he saw one today. I think I have about 30 from Lance from Engagify that came through, so in the last couple of days. Also, next week, I will not be here, as well as Krista will be up with the local officials day at the state with the youth council doing that Tuesday, and we won't be making it back in time for council next week, but anyway, that's where we will be up there. So
Will we have a quorum
Ben will
next
be
week?
out too, right?
I was going to go, I was going to ask you if I can go and go to the new session up there and be
To
involved
attend
in
local
that.
officials day?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Yeah, we just need to get registered.
so just go in, register, but the thing is, I realized it was on a Wednesday, so I didn't know, I wanted to
That would
make
be, the
sure.
question is if we have enough council here to have a quorum next week, because
So Ben, you're gone, right?
Ben's gone.
No,
So would need Janine and
I can.
Dave and Jarrett to be here to have a quorum to hold council next week.
That is a trick with
Brock,
city officials.
what's on the agenda for next week?
Well, council assignments would be discussion next week, which.
It's a work meeting, though, you can't take action.
We're not taking, we're just discussing, just to discuss the council assignments. Other than that,
I don't have
staff,
any-
anything, have anybody for work meeting next week? Trying to remember off the top of my head
I'm
what's
just-
on my board.
If we needed to, cancel the work meeting, we could probably do that.
Mhm.
And then just move the council assignment discussion to the next regular
Yeah.
city meeting.
We can move that along with the mayor pro tem all to the 24th.
That'd be perfect.
And then I wanted to just to thank everybody for kind of covering me while I'm down. I do plan on being to the next city council meeting in person. The recovery's going well, according to what the nurses say, so I shouldn't have any problem doing that, pending something unforeseen. But also that I had previously registered for the What's Up Down South tomorrow, and I'm not going to be able to attend. So there is one registration, unless Brock's canceled it already. If somebody who is not registered wants to go, there would be a spot there.
I'm free. I can go.
There you go, Brock.
There it is. Just, you will be Rick Rosenberg. Name badge tomorrow. Unless they can they make, sometimes they're there and they make name badges right there on the spot. So it is a full event, though. They did sell out, tickets sold out, so it should be well attended, so yeah.
And
I've heard about it.
Our spotlight business this year is Lammy's. So there should be a video in the What's Up Down South segment with a little short interview with me and then an interview with the owner of Lammy's as a spotlight Sam. So I was really curious. I wanted to watch it because they don't preview it with us. So, but you guys can tell me how we did. But I am home. If anybody needs to get a hold of me, got any questions, you got my numbers, my email. Just shoot me a text, whatever you need to do. And I appreciate everybody doing their assignments till we can, get together and make them formally again.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. All right.
Get well soon.
Thank you.
All right, so with no more reports, do we need an executive session?
No, we do not.
Jared,
Yes.
if you don't mind if I just make one short announcement. I received we mentioned this in previous councils about the generator that we had issues with, dropped the valve and had some damage. When they went through and scoped the other cylinders, they found some scarring on the cylinder walls. We got a proposal to fix that, and I already gave them the approval to go ahead and start ordering parts so we get that generator up and running. But the worst case scenario, it was about $150,000 for those repairs. So that's if every cylinder needs to be replaced. So anyway, I just talked to Brock and we went ahead and so they can get the parts ordered and get started on that so it's ready for the spring. So just wanted to make you aware of that.
Okay.
Threw a cloud over the meeting.
I know, I'm sorry, that's my
Things were
job.
so great. We were just gonna cancel the work meeting and you just had to do it.
Seems like ever since I've been in this vision, that's all I've done is give bad news.
Oh, is it one of the older generators then?
Yes, it's the first.
Okay.
It just goes in and out.
Unit 1 is the one, yes.
Okay, very good. All right, with that, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Do we need to, before we do that, do we need to publicly cancel next week's meeting or on the record or?
That's probably a good idea, yeah.
I'll make a motion that we cancel the I don't have the date.
September 17th.
January 17th.
September.
January 17th, work meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Ben to cancel the work meeting next week on January 17th, and the second by Janine. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That carries unanimously. And now I can look for a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Okay, motion by Dave,
Second.
second by Ben. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
We did it. We did it. I told you we could do it in 2 hours.
Yes. Very cool.
I'll just want to come tonight and introduce myself, give you guys my phone number, email, just so you have it as well.
Okay.
Do you have your cards?
I don't have any cards yet, because I just felt.
Well, congratulations. I wondered, I was like, all right.